Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Thread. Today is Wednesday, January 18th. Good to be back. How are you over there?
We're good. We're going to be heading back up north later today, God willing. And a number of events coming up next week and the week after in New York that we want to participate in, which necessitates our presence up there. So we're looking forward to doing that. Also, I think, yesterday I was taking a walk and late afternoon, I passed by the pool here. And I heard a lot of kids. I looked inside because, you don't really hear kids down here, especially. And I saw the early signs, the early indications of yeshiva break, the world famous, what became known as yeshiva break. Like 10 days off. A lot of yeshivas have 10 days off. Some just have 3 or 4 days off. Some have 2 days off. Some have a half a day here and then skip 2 days and have another half a day off. Everybody tries different combination of what they think is the right way to take a break in the middle of the winter from yeshiva. Listen, when I was in yeshiva a few decades ago, a lot of decades ago, there was no such thing as yeshiva break. Yeshiva break was lunchtime. That was a yeshiva break.
There was no such thing as yeshiva week
No,
when you...
No, there was no such thing as yeshiva week. I don't even know how to get it. Why is it, first of all, it shouldn't be called yeshiva week. It should be called no yeshiva week. So, because there's no yeshiva. So why are people calling it yeshiva week when it's exactly the opposite of that? Every other week is yeshiva.
I think it's yeshiva week. It's yeshiva week for these places like Utah and Miami because all the yeshivas are going there. It's
skiing.
I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet from someone that said like, Mashiach is going to be really disappointed when he comes and finds out what yeshiva week actually is.
Yeah, what yeshiva week? But you see, every yeshiva, depending on where they are on the so-called yeshiva spectrum, whether they're in New York, which has one standard, and the rest of the country, which has a different standard, they're trying to figure out, like they're trying to crack the safe, trying to figure out what is the right combination of days to be off that will be acceptable to not only to parents, but will be acceptable to their image in the world.
I don't know. I growing up, I didn't really have. I don't think we ever really went away for yeshiva week.
I think we did actually. I don't know if it was called yeshiva week, but I do remember the intercession trying to go to Florida when you were little kids. We did that at least one time. It's very difficult. One of the people in my office left to Israel on Monday with 4 little kids. I spoke to her yesterday. We communicated about some issues on WhatsApp. Asked her how her trip was. She said, with 4 kids, very challenging. But she's there. She's in Israel. And, I went to Israel a few weeks ago for Hanukkah, as you know, and there were a lot of kids on the flight, a lot of babies.
Well, I think growing up for me, yeshiva week was sort of like I'd go to a basketball game, a hockey game, and it was sort of like an extended off Shabbos. It was like Thursday to a Monday. I don't recall ever having off a Sunday to a Sunday in the middle of school year. Never happened.
Or if you have a different type of inclination, you could take your daughters to a Broadway play, for example, and your sons can go to the museum, the Modern Museum of Art, or the Museum of Broadcasting in the city, or the Intrepid. You'll see a lot of people in the city.
Or they can go to BMG, or they can go to those different inclination as well.
Not everybody's going to Vail skiing, or to Palm Beach to sun themselves.
I would say most people. I would say most people aren't. Honestly,
well,
most people aren't going.
We had this conversation before, and it's the same thing with people planning to go away for Pesach. It's a tiny percentage of people that go away for Pesach. It's not millions of people. It's in a community of I would say you want to talk about from people. I would say 1.5 million to 2 million people. I would say maybe between 50 and 60 or 70,000 actually go away to some place exotic or even local to a hotel to a costly type of program for Pesach, and that's a fraction. But by talking about it and by reading some newspapers, Baruch Hashem, you get the impression that that the entire world is on the move for Pesach. And you know what? Maybe they are on the move. They're going from their mother's house to their mother-in-law's house. So, they're kind of on the move in a way.
Yeah. I think we're touching upon an important topic that I want to speak
What?
about before we get to any of our
Like
stories
Yeshiva,
today.
like Yeshiva week?
No, I think that there's a rule in many Beis Yaakovs, definitely in the tri-state area, that girls are not allowed to make bas mitzvahs.
I
Um,
think
yeah,
that's rare. It's rare, and I think it's extreme, and it's limited to very
I
very
don't. Well, what
few
do you mean it's
schools.
rare? What is that? How? That's not rare. YSV, Tag, Benos Beis Yaakov. These places you can't make a bas mitzvah. You have to. I think you have like a small. You can't invite friends with a bas mitzvah. You can have with their family. You can have like a just family, but you cannot make a bas mitzvah in a hall with music and
Okay,
friends. You can't do it.
Naki,
Not
but
allowed.
based on the same line of thinking, you should not be allowed to go anywhere for so-called no yeshiva week. You shouldn't be able to go anywhere.
So that's what I'm
If they're
saying.
go,
So that's what I'm
because
saying. That
if you're going
doesn't.
to go somewhere, if you're taking your kids someplace, even though there's no school, if you're taking your kids someplace, there's other kids in the school that aren't going anywhere, and that they're gonna feel maybe they're gonna feel bad about it. So really,
So
the
why
rule
doesn't
should
the same rule
the rule should be that
apply?
nobody goes away. Everybody should stay home, right?
So it goes into the conversation, and we touched upon it yesterday that took place in the United Kingdom, but it goes upon the conversation of how much should the school try to regulate what goes on at the home? So the school thinks that it's overstepping their boundaries to say you can't go away out of state for Yeshiva week, but they feel comfortable saying that you cannot make a bas mitzvah. And I think the bas mitzvah rule comes from a place of trying to be sensitive to all the girls and maybe can't afford a big bas mitzvah.
Yes, but we're talking about Am Yisrael. We're talking about people. Everyone thinks everyone supports those rules, but everybody thinks they're an exception to that rule. It's like when the first president of Israel, Chaim Weizmann, met the president of the United States, Harry Truman, for the first time. And Truman said to Weizmann, I'm the president of 200 million people. And Weizmann said to him, well, I'm the president of 2 million presidents. So, everybody, everybody in our community is a president.
Mm.
So everybody thinks that, it's not a good idea. There should be intercession. It's not a good idea. We should go to Orlando. It's not a good idea to go skiing in Vail. But we're going to go because, we're in a different situation, a different relationship. We're on a different level than a lot of other people. So we're going to we're going to go. And then, you know what? Once we get past, by the way, once we get past that particular issue about whether you should go or not, the next big issue, and we can discuss this for the whole half hour if you want. You can forget about your stories, but that's up to you. The next big issue is who's allowed to leave a day or two early and who's allowed to come back a day or two late. Okay, I have a personal experience from 32 years ago. I don't know if we ever mentioned it here, but before you were born and before your brother Nissen was born, your brother Yochanan was about 8, and I think Dovi was 4. And I went to Israel with the entire family at the time, which I think consisted of 4 children. You and Nissen weren't born yet. And we went to Eretz Yisrael for my father's first yard site in 1990. And we spent Hanukkah in Eretz Yisrael. And we came back a day or two late. And we arrived back in New York 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And we took Yochanan and Dovi to Yeshiva. And about an hour later, we got a call from the Yeshiva, come pick up your kids, they're suspended. How do you like that? Did you hear that story?
Mm.
You ever hear that story?
I think it's an old family tale.
So, I mean, we were a little shocked. We went to pick them up. Why are they, you're talking about 1990. You're talking about, how many years ago was that? 32 years ago. Why is an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old suspended from yeshiva because they came back from Eretz Yisrael a day or two late? and I had a meeting with the rabbi of the school. The school doesn't exist anymore; closed. Those who know yeshivas could figure it out from there, I guess. But the rabbi said to me, you have to ask yourself a question: is your son gonna stand Shemon Esrei for 20 minutes because he went to Eretz Yisrael when he's 8 years old? And I thought to myself, this is shocking that is the measuring yard, and that's the barometer of how you judge someone, a family that went to Eretz Yisrael. Forget about the reason. You went to Eretz Yisrael. You went to Eretz Yisrael. We went. Your sister, Dini, went to Eretz Yisrael at the same time when we were there, Hanukkah, and her kids needed a couple of extra days here and there for travel, and she was there very strict about not leaving early and not coming late, except when it comes to going to Israel. Then there's an exception. There has to be an exception. If you're going to Eretz Yisrael, I don't care whether it's 1990 or 2023, you can't judge it like you're going to Disney World in Orlando
Right.
or any place else. Okay.
I hear you. I think that it's tough. I don't know how I feel about the Bas Mitzvah rule, to be honest. I think it's a little bit.
I don't know.
I just don't get it. Like, why is it? Why is? I'm not okay. I don't want to come across a certain way when I say this, but I'm just saying the bar mitzvahs are okay, but the bas mitzvahs are not okay. Now I'm not like feminist. I'm not going down that route at all. Everyone relax. Don't go there. I'm just saying I maybe I need to do more research. Maybe I need to have more clarity on the rule of why girls are not allowed to have bas mitzvahs. And then it seems a little inconsistent that they're, anyone can go to Vail and Palm Beach and Bahamas and Panama.
Costa Rica.
I think just be consistent. Like, no bas mitzvahs. You can't leave the state for vacation. Unless, of course, maybe Israel, because it's, Kedusha trip. But, like...
I don't think...
no?
I don't think that's right. I don't think you have to govern people. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to mandate a vaccine and have everybody wearing masks.
So you don't think the bas mitzvah... So you don't think the bas mitzvah rule is either one that should be had?
No, I think that there has to be...
Well, do you understand the reasoning behind it? I think, let's be sensitive to the people who make the decisions about the reasoning behind it. I think it's. I think that there are certain girls who can't afford to make bas mitzvahs, and they're being super sensitive.
I think it's a weak type of reasoning. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think there should be standards, of course, but I think first of all, when they legislate these rules, they change them every year or two, because it never works. It never works.
Well, I think this rule, the bas mitzvahs rule, is fairly new, maybe the last 7 years, and it's been in place. I know when I was growing up, bar mitzvahs there was no restrictions on bar mitzvahs. Bar mitzvahs were free reign. You could do. I've been to some bar mitzvahs in the weekend, the craziest halls, the nicest stuff. I think now bar mitzvahs need to end at a certain time. Everybody in the class needs to be invited. It's like, I think now they also started getting involved in that.
Last I heard, there's a way to circumvent the rule that there's no bas mitzvahs allowed. You know what they do? Like let's say a girl's 12 years old and they're not allowed to have a bas mitzvah, so she falls off her bicycle and she's she breaks her arm or sprains her knee, and they're gonna have a sudas haidah to thank Hashem.
So you're gonna push a kid off a bike and break their leg so you can make a bas mitzvah. I think that's something a lot worse with the family than not having bas mitzvah. Than if they do that.
I didn't suggest pushing anybody off a bicycle. I'm saying that
that's not a that is not a loophole. That is just sadistic. That's terrible.
I wasn't suggesting that. You're distorting what I'm saying. I'm saying that
you're saying to lie. You're saying to lie.
No. I'm saying a kid falls off the bicycle and doesn't get too badly hurt. There's good reason to have a sudas haidah, and the schools are not going to argue with that. They don't want you to have a bas mitzvah, but it's very similar to the way government works. They change the meaning of the words if they get into a tough situation. That's all.
I don't know. I think that I would love to hear the feedback of the Daily Thread audience. You can really email us at the Daily Thread at meaningfulminute.org. Chime in on this topic. We'll read your email It could be anonymously on tomorrow morning's episode
This is
because,
very timely because Yeshiva week.
yeah,
According to what I heard, the noise that I heard in the area over here down Florida, which is a big attraction for No Yeshiva week, I heard kids. You don't really hear kids' noises around you so much. And next week, they say it's going to be just wall to wall kids, and families, of course. You're not going to be able to get into a restaurant. Forget about a restaurant.
can I tell you what I don't like? And maybe this is like, I personally, I don't like when I hear, well, we have to take the kids to this place because all their friends are going to this place. And like, I think if rules in general, if school's trying to regulate what goes on at home is to protect other kids, then like, maybe I hear it. I don't know. Like I heard a parent recently say, I need to take my kid away somewhere because all their friends are going away. And it's like, well, you don't need to go to Vail. You don't need to go to Vermont. You don't need to go to Panama. Like, you can go to Manhattan one day. You can go to, like, maybe you could just, like, go to a grocery and do, like, a scavenger hunt. Like, I don't know.
We had this.
I think be creative.
Nafi, we had this conversation a few months ago when we started this about summer camp. There's only X amount of kids that will physically fit into X amount of summer camps, and kids get rejection letters. We're not even talking about economics now, being able to afford it and not afford it. It's a similar type of subject matter. They don't have summer camps don't have the type of room that the schools have. So certain kids get closed out of summer camps. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to close down the summer camps and forget about the summer camp idea? Anyway, you're right about. You're right. We should whatchamacallit. We should turn it over to the listeners who I think these are people that are experiencing it. You have a 2-year-old. You're not experiencing that. And I'm not experiencing it because my baby is 28. So I'm not experiencing that. I mean, I'm still experiencing it a little bit. But
just saying, you never took me to Panama. You never took me to Bahamas.
Well, we took you plenty of places. You want to keep this show to a half hour? We don't have enough time to talk about all the places that I took you, including Florida, including Eretz Yisrael, including many.
I'm not
many
complaining.
places.
To be honest, I'll be real with you. I have no interest in places. Right now, at least, I don't have interest in going to the Bahamas. I don't have interest in going to Puerto Rico.
You don't have to do that now, but you want to change the subject? It's a very interesting story as well.
Yeah.
You want to go first? You go first, okay?
Yeah, I have a story here via Yeshiva World about Vladimir Putin, who is suffering from treatments, could resort to nuclear weapons, insiders claim. So a Telegram channel that claims to have insider information from the Kremlin claims that Russian President Vladimir Putin has become withdrawn, silent, deeply preoccupied as he undergoes a new treatment. Mm-hmm. There have been widespread rumors that Putin is suffering from advanced cancer and early stages of Parkinson's. Mm-hmm. So this has been rumored for a little bit. Right. No one obviously has been able to confirm it. But it says here in the article that it added that Putin has gone almost silent and he refuses to see anybody. Mm-hmm. He is about to gamble, if not by going for broke, then by raising the stakes to a critical level, General SVR claimed. So I think people are nervous that because of his advanced illness, he might do something a little bit crazy, a little extreme.
First of all, Putin is the president or the dictator in Russia, and he's not pressing the button himself. He doesn't have a button like a Ring doorbell, where he presses the button for nuclear weapons. He has a military chain of command, and I think if he's making decisions and because motivated by the fact that he's so ill, the people that have to survive him and take over after he's gone are not going to be listening to him.
Who's disobeying Vladimir? Who's disobeying Vladimir Putin? Though?
If he's having advanced cancer treatments and has Parkinson's, you can be sure the generals in the Russian army are talking about the future of Russia, not worrying. He's not Superman. He's just a human being. He's just a human being that happens to start a war that's killing a lot of people. But he doesn't have the final say necessarily. Every leader is dispensable, especially one in his circumstance.
Okay, what do you got on your end? What story do you want to bring up?
Okay. Well, I want to talk about they have kosher lab-grown cheeseburgers now. Did you read about that?
No, I did not.
Read about it. The chief rabbi of Israel, the Ashkenazi chief rabbi, Rabbi David Lau ruled on Wednesday afternoon, that's today in Israel, they're 7 hours ahead of us, that cultured meat, that means meat that's created in a lab, is kosher and is not considered to be meat in terms of Jewish law. Cultured meat, also known as lab grown meat, is made by feeding sugar, amino acids, vitamins, and other nutrients to animal stem cells raised in bioreactors. The stem cells are collected from bovine embryos, that's like cow embryos. Rabbi Lau made the determination that visiting a Rehovot lab using the production of cultured meat, finding that as long as the process for producing the cultured meat remains the same, such products are both kosher and technically not considered to be meat, thus rendering them parv, a category of kosher food which is neither dairy nor meat. So
Isn't that like an Impossible Burger? Isn't that like
I don't know what the Impossible Burger is made out of. Is it made out of vegetables, soy? Is it made out of?
it's made of like yeah, like grass. It's like grass stuff.
But
I don't know, like
this is like this probably tastes more like meat than the Impossible Burger, which doesn't taste like meat. It sounds good, but I mean, I don't.
this doesn't sound good though. You're talking about sugars, amino acids. Like no, thank you.
You're talking about eating meat, and but it probably tastes more like meat, but it's not meat. And like the headline says, it's kosher lab grown cheeseburgers. You can have a cheeseburger. The non-Jewish world, the non-kosher observing world, is wild over cheeseburgers. And that like crosses the biggest red line that you could possibly have. If we can cross over to having cheeseburgers. Isn't it funny how
Yeah.
much time we spend? We study Jewish law our whole life, and once we get everything, into our into our system in terms of knowledge, we spend the rest of our time trying to figure out how to circumvent
Yeah.
those rules. How to
That's what we do. Yeah.
how to get a cheeseburger, how to you know
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So anyway, but that's
So
big news. That's big news if you can have a cheeseburger.
my my next story is via Fox News. It says that UN envoy thinks Hezbollah terror group and it draws rebuke from Israeli officials.
Yeah.
Is this real? So, United Nations official on Monday thanked a representative of Hezbollah for giving her a tour de horizon of Lebanese issues, drawing rebuke from Israeli officials.
Right.
So, I think her name is Joanna Roneka.
Right. I saw
She
that. Yeah.
tweeted, she said, I thank Mr. Ammar Mosawi of Hezbollah for a tour de horizon on issues of priority for Lebanon, including the election of new president, the functioning
Right.
of state institutions, and the impact of regional and international developments of the country. So I don't know if she realized, but Hezbollah is a terrorist organization,
Right.
and she just thanked them for a tour.
That's absolutely that's big. That's a big problem, and that's the misguided direction of American foreign policy, and it's really a mess. It's really a mess. I gotta tell you.
And like Hezbollah, it's not like a alleged terror. Hezbollah is a designated foreign terrorist organization by the State Department, and a member of the United Nations thanked that a representative of Hezbollah. What have we come to? Do people not think? Do people not use their brains?
I don't know. I don't think people really know what Hezbollah is made out of, what they're committed to. Hezbollah is unique in Lebanon because they're part of the so-called legitimate government of the country of Lebanon. So
I know,
even
Bob, but
though
the
even
State
though they're
Department,
terrorists,
the State Department classifies them as a terrorist organization.
well, if you want to see everything from pro or anti-Israel perspective, the United States State Department has notoriously and historically been anti-Israel. They're very much against the creation of the state of Israel from the beginning. They thought it was the wrong thing. They think it's the wrong thing today in terms of the two-state solution, which they're very much in favor of, and so on and so forth. It's a very old, tired discussion that is never going to get anywhere. But by the way, today there happens to be a political crisis in Israel today with the new government because the Supreme Court in Israel decided that Aryeh Deri, the head of the Shas party, is not allowed to be a minister in the new government because of his previous criminal convictions. He was convicted several times, two or three times, of tax offenses, not paying taxes. But Netanyahu appointed him in the new government as interior minister. Now, there's no problem with him sitting in the Knesset, apparently as a member of Knesset, but the 11 members of the Supreme Court today voted 10-1 that by law, because of his criminal background, he's not allowed to be a minister in the government. And the Shas party said that that's a discriminatory type of ruling because the Supreme Court in Israel is notoriously liberal, and the Shas party is a religious party, and they think that it's an anti-religious type of move, and they're threatening to bring down the government if Netanyahu is going to listen to the ruling. And Netanyahu said before the ruling that whatever the Supreme Court decides, he's going to listen to. So he's in a what they call a pickle. He's in a kind of pickle right now.
He's in a quandary. Yeah. So that's our episode for today.
Let me say one more thing I wanted to say yesterday. I know
Please.
you're running out of time.
Go for it.
About this week's Parsha, Va'era, very exciting Parsha. To say that in the beginning, one of the you see one of the reasons why so many young people, especially young women and some young men, but more young women than young men, I get the impression, they go into speech therapy as a profession because of all the difficulties in the world. Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen to lead the Jewish people, and he had a complaint to Hashem. He said, "Why are you sending me? Why are you sending me? Yama Moshe Levnei Hashem, Hein Ani Aras Vasayim. I have a speech defect. What are you sending me to talk to Pari for? I can't speak well. How's Pari going to listen to me? Why will he listen to a guy that comes there and I don't know?" He said that he had like what he called a kvat peh, he had closed lips. He had some kind of speech defect that needed some kind of, speech therapy. Moshe Rabbeinu needed speech therapy. And I think that might have been an event. Apparently he was successful in communicating with Paro through his brother Aaron, but I think that made an impression on the Jewish people in general, which today has resulted in an inordinate number of our young people being directed undertaking a professional career in speech therapy. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to say.
I guess that could. I guess that's a good reason. Maybe. Well, anyways, that's our episode for today. Thank you for listening and watching Daily Thread. Make sure to give us your feedback on the first half of this episode. We discussed an important topic, and we'd love to hear what you think. So email us at thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org, or you can sign up to our account on WhatsApp and send us a message there. Anyways, we will be back with you tomorrow with another episode. Have a great day.